All right, welcome, fight fans, to another edition of The Smoker. This is episode 3. As always, I am joined by my colleague at NewYorkFights.com, Abraham Gonzalez. Abraham, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, man? What's going
You
on?
look
Yeah,
excited about this episode, man.
yeah,
You ready to get into this one?
yeah, man. It's early morning here in Southern California. Looks like it's gonna be a good one. So yeah, let's get into it.
Let's get into it. All right, so we have a nice show lined up for you today. We're going to discuss a few things that have been going on in the boxing world. And the first segment, we're going to lead into any breaking news and latest headlines in the boxing world. Abraham, take it away.
Yeah. So Gabe Flores Jr. He was G Squad. He was supposed to fight Andrew Cancio. Cancio got hurt, so now he's fighting someone else. I think Jason Velez is a name that was thrown out there. So that will be the co-main event for Burchelt Valdez. So that fight is still going on. Jamel Herring is still waiting on a date. It looks like it's in February with Carl Frampton. They they announced a date, but they haven't made like an official announcement, like press release or anything like that. So him and Frampton are fighting behind closed doors in a venue in the UK as of right now. So we'll see how that goes. Virgil Ortiz versus Mo Hooker in March. Wow, what a fight! That is going to be on the zone. Looks like Maurice Hooker signed a two fight deal with Golden Boy, the zone, and so Virgil Ortiz is in a really true step up fight. Is going against Maurice Hooker, and that's gonna be a really good fight while it lasts. And then we have Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner is back. He's back in February. It seems like this is the fifth time that he's back. He was supposed to fight Campa. That's not working out now, so they're looking for an opponent. But he is fighting in February. He has this whole thing about comeback. He's serious, and he lost 40 pounds or whatever the case may be. So I guess I guess we'll see what Adrian Broner has for the 50th time. And then we had Ryan Garcia, which we'll wrap up at the end or somewhere in our conversation. But he was on the hot boxing with Mike Tyson, and him and Javante got on FaceTime, and it was a pretty interesting conversation. But yeah, that's in a nutshell. Those are the hot items that have been going on this week and the last couple of weeks.
Okay, so you said Velez and Cancion, right? That's the replacement?
Yes, that's what it's looking like right now.
So, Velez, so does he stand a chance?
To be honest with you, I mean it's a lot. I hate the last minute replacement stuff because even though it's about a month away, I still think that Flores is going to have a little bit of an advantage. I still think that Flores wins this fight, even if Velez had the time to prepare. I still think Flores is younger, a little sharper, and it's going to be a good step up fight for him. It's not the really good step up fight like the Cancio fight would have been, but it'll have to do for now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree totally. I think Flores takes this. And I like you. I don't like last minute throw-ins, but 4 weeks. Matter of fact, I was listening to a Teddy Atlas podcast, and he was given 3 weeks to train Povetkin, and he breaks down the timeline. 8 weeks is ideal. 7 weeks I could work with. 6 weeks we start to push the mark. He goes at 4 weeks. Teddy Atlas will even 4 weeks. He wouldn't even touch it.
Yeah.
So that goes to show you the importance of having time to train, and Velez. But sometimes fighters step up to the occasion, the moment, and they take full opportunity. So I hope Velez does this. But I'm like you. I think Flores is just a tad sharper, younger, and just overall better. I don't see Velez winning this fight. And then Herring and Frampton, I think that taking place in the UK is good. UK fans, I love the UK. I've traveled over there, and UK fans, even though it's going to be a close part, but UK, they really love their boxing over there. So I think that's a good look for them. And I think once that fight gets made, I'm pretty sure you and I sit down, analyze it, and see who wins that fight. And we had an interesting matchup 2 weeks ago. Well, an exciting matchup, not interesting. An exciting matchup in Garcia and Campbell. You and I wrote a co-feature for it for NewYorkFights.com, and and we weren't surprised by the results. I think whatever what you and I predicted came to fruition in the fight. So not much really talk about the fight itself, in the sense that nobody it met the expectations of everybody that predicted the fight. But more so is in true Garcia fashion, the more interesting story is what happened after the fight. Garcia calling everybody out, Garcia getting on Tyson's podcast, and him and Tank Davis having a spat over FaceTime. What are your thoughts on what's going on with this fight, and is it going to happen?
So if you ask me, and I'm going to take a deep breath here, if you ask me, I believe that the fight happens. It's not going to happen in the next couple months. It's going to happen. And I heard Ryan speak somewhere where he said he was aiming for like an October date, which that makes sense. Ryan's talking about only fighting twice a year. And so an October date, with allowing the promotion train to run its course throughout the summer, fans being allowed, I think that this happens later on this year. Tank wants to fight. He recently told Dan Raphael in an interview that, he has told Leonard Enderby and Mayweather that he wants to fight. He wants it next. They're supposedly going to be trying to work it out. And so, but it's a complicated issue. You have the two different promotion companies, two different networks. Javante is tagged with Showtime. Ryan is with the Zone. So, all that stuff's got to get worked out, which isn't going to happen overnight. October seems like a reasonable time to get all those things worked out, get the promotion done, have a legitimate training camp, and then still, have that fight in October. And if I had to guess, I think they put it in the Vegas stadium, football stadium, and it'll fill it up. I have no doubt that stadium will be filled up. Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis, main event in October, maybe even November. It'll fill up the stadium. It'll be the biggest fight, as I've already said numerous times, and it'll be the biggest fight in 2021.
Yeah, no, you've been emphatic about saying that this fight's going to happen. So there is no your enthusiasm and your steadfastness in naming this fight. You've said it as long as I've been following you for the last few months, that this fight is going to happen this year, and your timeline seems reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm a little pessimistic about this fight happening, and there's only one factor I think that will get in the way of this fight happening, and it is Mayweather. That is my reason for this. Especially with him saying that Tank is always going to be the A side. There's never going to be no room for negotiations for Tank never to be the A side in any negotiations when it comes to fighting Tank. That's number one. Number two, like you said, the different platforms in which they both fight in. Where are they going to meet? Tank and Mayweather like the Showtime pay-per-view. Garcia fights on the Zone. Where's the middle ground? Who gets to broadcast this fight? I think in recent history, two major platforms have collaborated for a fight. It was HBO and Showtime. And I want to say it was, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was for a Mayweather fight. And that is, you have a better chance of striking oil outside your house than having two major platforms come together and collaborate on a fight. So what do you think, if anything, what do you think is the major obstacle in Garcia Tank happening later in October?
So I don't think there's a lot of obstacles, and I'm going to tell you why. Ryan has already said that, the split and the money stuff, it is important, but it isn't everything. And so if Tank is going to be the A side, I don't think that he's going to have a problem with that. He's just mentioned that he just wants it to be fair. And so going back to the Dan article, Tank mentioned like a 60-40 split. I think that that's fair because Tank is the champ in 2 divisions and Ryan isn't. And so, although Ryan does bring a certain amount of the audience, so does Tank, believe it or not. And so, I think that the money, if it's a 60-40 split, I don't see that being a major obstacle. Now, if you asked me 6 months ago about the whole DAZN Showtime, I probably would have told you that that would be a major obstacle. However, with DAZN dipping their toes back into the pay-per-view business, right, I don't think that that would be that difficult of a job to do. They have some broadcast issues where they have like a mix and match of people depending on where the fight is and where they got going on. So I don't know if they necessarily are hardcore on the broadcast team, knowing that Showtime's team is a little more a little more seasoned at times, and so depending on who they have in there, I don't think it's gonna be an issue with the mix and match. And in regards to Mayweather doing business with DAZN, I think that there will be enough money prior to the fight, pre-fight, as far as endorsements, as far as advertising money, there'll be enough of that to go around for everyone, and I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue. But as you said, it took a while for the CBS, for the Manny Pacquiao Mayweather, for the CBS and Showtime and them to get together for that. CBS Showtime, and then it was Top Rank and whoever they were working with at the time. It took a little while, but I think that it could work. I think it could work. It's just we have to kind of let it play out, and they have a few months to kind of work on things and see what's going on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think 60-40 is a fair split. With Tank taking the good chunk of it because he's a champion, and so look, we'll keep our fingers crossed. That is a mega fight that I know I want to see. I know you want to see, and I know a lot of our peers and colleagues and fans, particularly, want to see. Shifting gears, how refreshing is it to get a guy to start calling out people? And one of my favorite parts of a fight, if you're any boxing fan, whether you're hardcore or casual, you always stick around for that post-fight interview. And you always stick around for that one question. And that one question goes, so now that you won the title, what's next for you? Who do you want to fight? And if there's somebody in particular that happens to be sitting in the crowd, they'll bring them to the ring and they'll do this whole fiasco. And we've been great as fight fans. And the answer that I dislike the most, I've actually despised the most, is we have to get with our fight team and talk about what's next. Knowing darn well, even when somebody's sitting in the crowd, and get to the ring, we got to get back and talk to Top Rank and talk to whatever promotion company and me and my manager, and we're forgot to do right now. I just want to rest and spend some time with my family. How refreshing was it for a young Ryan Garcia coming off the win and calling the big daddy in the division? And not only that, continues to call the big daddy in the division, which is arguably Tank Davis.
I'm a man of my word. Let's go, Tank! Let's go! Let's go! I'm ready!
Who do you want to fight?
Tank Davis, you know
right
that.
now,
Man.
today?
2 rounds is all going to take.
Tank
Davis.
Tank Davis.
Tank Davis.
Where are you, Tank? I did an interview with Tank too, and Tank think he's ready.
He's ready.
Yeah.
But I'm ready. I'm more ready.
I got Tank on his phone. You want him?
Yeah, Tank.
Oh my God.
Fuck up, nigga. Hey, Tank.
Oh my God.
I love you. This nigga talking mad shit over here, Tank. Look at this nigga, Tank.
2 rounds, baby. 2 rounds. 2 rounds. I don't care. You're on pause. 2 rounds. 2 rounds. You're going to sleep. 2 rounds. Hey, it's not going to hurt. I promise you, it's not going to hurt. I don't care what you got. Yeah, all that. You better open up. You're going to need a ladder to hit me. How tall are you? You 5'5". You don't need a ladder to hit me. You're going to need a Stairmaster. Boy, you won't be able to touch me. You ain't never fought a 135 and you don't care. You too ugly to be champ. I'm fucking champ. And that's from Muhammad Ali. Boy, I'm pretty. You ain't never seen nothing like me. I promise you.
Show the tuxedo, nigga. Show the
You see me
tuxedo,
the whole
nigga.
time, man. 2 rounds is all going to take. Now, but you can talk to Mike. Have a good time with Mike.
Your next fight be with this nigga, man. What the nigga? We on worldwide television. Can you fight this nigga talking mad shit, man?
We're fighting next. We're fighting next.
Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, you lying, nigga.
He said it.
The world,
Hey, the world knows. He said it. Next fight, there's no going back now. There ain't no going back. Hey, you better commit to it. Sign that, baby. Sign it. Sign it 1,000. Hey, look at me. I'm dancing. I'm happy. Look at I'm dancing bachata on you. I'm bachata. Hey, I'm happy. Let's go. Let's get it on, baby. Let's get it on.
Look what it did. Not only did it force Tank Davis to get on camera, on FaceTime, and raise the level, and then he had a little instigator with Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was adding fuel to a fire that didn't need fuel. It also called out it forced other fighters to whip out their whip out their phone and whatever social media platform get on and start calling each other out. How refreshing is that? I don't think we've seen nothing like that since the Ali era, you know? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you an example, right? So you had Ryan do that, and then all of the post-fight media that he did, right? Riding on that train, and here we are 2.5 weeks, and we're still talking about it, right? And
Yes.
I compare that to Anthony Joshua, who had the opportunity to really sell the Fury fight right after his, and he gave the answer like, oh, well, whatever is next, and didn't really take advantage of that. And so you have two opposites, right? Two complete opposites. And Joshua, what ended up happening, people forgot that he had a fight in December. They completely forgot about that. And so it wasn't until Fury started getting on there and started really pushing the buttons that people started talking about it again. But Garcia is keeping this train going. And I believe that is one of the most significant pieces to the puzzle that will push this fight over the line. And I think it's needed. It's not, hey, I'm only going to call out somebody that is on my side of the street or whatever who they want to call it. This is a guy that say, listen, I want to fight the best guy, the most feared guy in the division, regardless of what company he works for or, he falls under, I should say. I want that guy. And, it's great to hear people do that. And so, and not hide behind, the network or the promotion and say, oh, well, I can't get this fight done because, their side is not, doing anything about it or whatever mumbo jumbo people say these days. But it was great to hear that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. It was refreshing. I liked it. It got me pumped up, and and what it did was it got other people, pumped up. And I think this is what boxing needs, man. You got a good, young looking kid. Regardless of that baby face, look, that pretty boy smile, the boy can fight too. Okay, on top of all that, and number 3, he's as charismatic, as enthusiastic as they come, and in doing so, he has definitely put himself in a position above all the other fighters in the division to get this win. I think Ryan Garcia gets it. I think he gets that, hey, if I take these measures, especially with the social media platform and the followings that I have, it's going to lead for some bigger, better things. And, following suit, copy, and people start to pull out their phones. Now we got Keith Thurman has been on social media more so and calling out promoters and calling out fighters. Tank, who's usually pretty reserved in how he does it, now he's taken to social media, and all these other fighters are doing so. So I'm happy that he did that, and I'm glad that he did that because he knows where he wants to go. He knows what direction he wants to take his career. And listen, he has the skills to back up what he says. So, what happens on fight night is neither here nor there. Ryan Garcia could fight, and he's letting the world know, hey, I'm here and I'm ready. So I'm excited about that.
The two that aren't doing that, which is why that fight isn't going to happen this year, is Crawford and Spence. And,
exactly.
And that's just what it is. Crawford and Spence, Spence is MIA from, the social media platform or whatever. Crawford, he's kind of dipped his toes here and there, but those guys are not going to fight each other. And I think Eddie Hearn said it best on one of the podcasts he was on recently. He said, if that fight was a million pay-per-view buy fight, they would have done it last year. And so it's not, so they're not. It's just as simple as that. They're asking for a lot more money than what they can provide. And when I say they can provide, their profiles and their followers can provide. So I don't see that happening, that fight happening this year.
No, you're absolutely right. That is something they're not doing. I think in our last episode, you also said this fight is not going to happen. You're being generous and say the fight may happen in 2022, if at all, because of those reasons that you just outlined. And it's sad. It's sad for boxing. It is sad for fans like you and me, who we salivate, our mouth waters at a fight of two skill levels, of that elite skill level, facing each other in the ring. And when it does happen, it is such a thing of beauty. It rarely not lives up to the hype.
Yeah.
Very rarely. Most of the time, when you get two caliber fighters at that level, and they get that ring, they come through and they provide. So I'm still keeping my fingers crossed. I would still like to see that fight, but if it doesn't, it doesn't happen because of all the things that you said, and that's simply just a crime. And we can sit here and debate all day long how to fix that and what formula to follow. But it's been around as old as boxing's been around, going back to the Jack Johnson days, and who was going to come out of retirement to fight Jack Johnson and try to scramble. I don't want to fight him, and I don't want to fight whatever the reasons were. At that time, it happened to revolve around social injustices, why certain people didn't get in the ring with certain people when they should have. But nevertheless, it's the same old story as to why peak fighters, two peak fighters at the prime of their careers, do not get in the ring for one reason or another. And it's just simply sad. Because you don't get that in any other sport.
No, I know it.
Sport has a playoff, and usually the two top dogs in each conference or in each division or in each league will win. Will keep true to their regular season format. Will win the postseason, and you get the two best teams playing each other in basketball, baseball, or football, the three major sports in the United States. Very rarely will you see, a team with a losing record play for a championship. Very rarely. But in boxing, you don't even get the fight. So that's just sad. All right. Speaking of social media and the use of social media to promote yourself and being relevant and staying relevant, there was one guy who used to dominate boxing Twitter. I mean, he used to flood the timeline all the time. And after his loss, he sort of went into hiding. And this episode was supposed to be recorded last week, but I had some family issues that I had to take care of. And I graciously thank you for allowing me to do that and checking up on me during that time. My family and I really appreciate it. But we were going to talk about Tevin Farmer's hiding and why we haven't heard Tevin Farmer in such a long time. And then boom, back on his game. Where was Tevin Farmer that whole time, and what led to this resurgence?
To be honest with you, I really don't know, but I'm sure going to ask him tomorrow when I talk to him. I'm doing a story for NewYorkFights.com, and I'm going to be talking to him tomorrow. Hopefully, all that pans out. But you're right. He hasn't been around after the fight. He surfaced back up because JoJo's opponent, I think got COVID, and so JoJo Diaz does not have an opponent right now, and so he surfaced back up and said, "Hey, I'll take the fight. 4 weeks notice. Like, we were supposed to, do this already, and apparently the rematch clause had expired, which I'm gonna ask about as well, and so, I guess he was working all those legal matters. There might be some health things that were attached to that layoff. And so, yeah, it's an interesting situation with him. And I have to see what he's got to say. But it'll be interesting to see if they make this fight at the last minute. and see if Lou DiBella, can make it happen, because it looks like they did reach out to Golden Boy. So, maybe that fight now happens. Maybe that's a fight that the Zone would be interested in doing. Now, Tevin Farmer isn't contractually obligated to the Zone anymore, if I'm not mistaken. And so it's DiBella working with Golden Boy and trying to work all that out. So we'll see how it goes. But he's been interesting the last few days about that.
He sure has. And I used to, boxing Twitter is a very weird Twitter place. And he was very active before the JoJo fight. Man, he talked a lot of he trash talked a lot leading up to that fight, and he was emphatic that he was going to win. And then when he didn't win, I think for me, his absence from Twitter and from the boxing world in general, which is just recently, was the fact that he was disgusted with the loss. Tevin Farmer. With one thing, Tevin Farmer is a very prideful person. He's prideful. I don't know him, but based on what I've seen, and I think he took that loss a little hard, and that's the reason why he left. And now with this opportunity opening up, yeah, I would bite at it if the opportunity opened up. And if a fighter says, "Hey, I got 4 weeks. I can take this fight in 4 weeks," that means he's ready to go. He's been training. He's been staying healthy. He's been in camp. And it's just a matter of fine-tuning some things in the last 4 weeks. Maybe get some sparring partners in to fine-tune some things or do some things differently that he did the first fight. And then, but JoJo not taking the fight is not a hit on JoJo. It's just at this point, he has to do what's best for his career, and he has to sit down and talk with his team, and rather than just taking a fight. All too often, fight fans, we forget that there's a business aspect to this, and we want fighters to fight tomorrow. And there's a business aspect to this. So I'm pretty sure JoJo's team is advising him correctly. We were going to talk about JoJo's first defense here, but since that's not happening, we'll just talk about this and what we could see in the future for both fighters. Tevin Farmer's 30 years old. By no means is he out the game. I still think 30 is young enough to still be relevant in this game, but he has wear and tear. I mean, Tevin Farmer has been fighting for a long time, and he has a lot of fights under him. So where his age may not be a determining factor, the wear and tear is, and we'll see. But then again, he's the type of fighter that doesn't take a lot of risk in the ring. He says that himself. He takes a page out of Mayweather's book. My whole goal is to fight, make as much money as I can, win as much as I can, without getting hurt and leaving with all my facets. So that's his game. And he's been adamant in Twitter. I don't care what the fans think. I'm not here for the fans. I'm here to make, fight as much as what I can, reach my goals without getting hurt, which sometimes leads him to fight a little too cautiously, and leads him to not exchange in those heated matches, and sometimes leads for some boring fights. Teofimo versus Kambosos. I mean, I'm not excited about that fight. I'll just be honest with you. I know Kambosos is a tough cookie, but I'm not really excited about the fight. Talk to me about Teofimo Kambosos, and what do you think plays out in that fight?
So I'm going to back up for a second, because Teofimo, he mentioned a few weeks back that he wanted to fight 3 fights a year, right? And so in order for him to do that, he would have to fight like March, maybe June, and then, like October, November.
Correct.
Bob Arum went and spoke to Mike Woods recently, yesterday, I think it was, on an article for The Ring. And he said that because of Australia and not being able to, they are doing events with fans, but they are being really restrictive with letting people into the country. And so with that being said, he was talking about maybe May timeframe for the Kambosos fight, like late May. So, which really is going to leave Teofimo maybe only fighting twice this year.
Correct.
If I don't know, if that fight for whatever reason falls apart, I think that the Haney fight is a realistic option. But going back to the fight itself, excuse me, I think Teofimo is he's just at a different level right now, and I don't think Kambosos is at the level that he needs to be in order to beat Teofimo. I'm not saying it's a walk in the park, but I don't think that he struggles to beat Kambosos in that fight. And it'll probably be a decision. I don't know if it's going to be necessarily a knockout, but a knockout could come in the middle to late rounds. But I think it'll be a decision in favor of Teofimo.
Yeah, the reason why I bring that up is, like you, I believe that it's not. They're on two different spectrums of the fighting world. With Teofimo, absolutely being on the higher spectrum, on a higher level. And the reason why I bring that up is because, like I said, I don't necessarily care for this fight too much, but I do care for the state of the lightweight division and what happens with, like you just said, Teofimo wants to fight 3 fights this year. You already knocked out one of those fights because of the restrictions in Australia, and so many things happen within the fight world where, especially nowadays with negotiations, now put COVID on top of it, and then put the fighters themselves on top of it, where they can stay healthy enough to make their fight. So now we got that takes Teofimo down to 2 fights this year. 1 fight less than what he wanted. One of those fights is against Kambosos, you know. That only leaves him 1 fight this year to fight another top dog within the lightweight division. Compounded with the fact that he's already gone on record saying that he has no problem vacating these titles and moving up because he has a hard time or he's finding it difficult to make weight at this division. What is the state of the lightweight division if Teofimo can't get in the circle of those so-called kings of that division? What happens to the lightweight division if Teofimo does not fight at least one of those guys and vacates all the belts and moves up?
I think the lightweight division will still be okay. So, you know, I think that everyone by now understands that Teofimo only has about 2 fights left at 135, and it was always the plan to go to 140, you know, and so I think that the 135 division will be just fine, and it'll be, you know, Tank, Garcia, and Haney. The thing with Haney, and I keep saying this, is he needs to fight somebody, like somebody real, like a signature fight, whether that's Fortuna. I would even love Haney and Leonidas. That would be a great fight.
Right.
Even though Leonidas is a little bit past his prime, you know, he still has that speed and he has that veteran. But you know what? You know, give me Haney and Lomachenko. I wouldn't mind seeing that either. You know, but Haney would need to, you know, kind of lower his expectations a little bit and know that if he fights a Lomachenko, then he's still not going to be the quote unquote A side on this. Like he's going to have to understand that, you know, it's not going to be all on his terms, and which I don't get the feeling that he is mentally right now. I think more so that he's on some, you know, everything needs to be on his terms, and I don't think that's realistic. You know, he's a really, really good fighter, but he needs those signature wins, and if that means, you know, pushing the ego to the side and kind of meet in the middle with some stuff, or even giving on some concessions, then that's what he needs to do. But he needs those signature fights, and it needs to happen before people start demanding. Like Ryan versus Haney doesn't push the needle. I know people in the zone and everywhere else are like, oh yeah, that fight will be huge. No, it'd be huge for Haney because nobody knows Haney. You know, the Haney needs to fight somebody that, you know, that people know that, hey, he's not a almost 40 years old Gamboa that he's taking 12 rounds to. Like, he needs to look impressive against a Leonidas or a Lomachenko or even Fortuna. Fortuna, he's a solid fighter, so I would even probably start there, you know, and then, you know, move up to a Leonidas shortly after. But still, like, he needs those type of fights, and, you know, he's just not. I hope that he doesn't think that he's going to just jump into a Tank fight or a Ryan Garcia fight right away. He may get the Teofimo Lopez fight, and I tell you why there's a difference. When it comes to the audience and their status in pop culture, you know, Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia are like right here, and Teofimo's just not up there yet because he's not out there yet. He's not out there like that. But they have considerable followings, and you know, Teofimo knows that. He's not ignorant to that. You know, he knows where his status is at, and he's building upon that. You know, doing the hot boxing with Tyson, and you know, he's going on these different shows. So he knows that he has to work on that and build towards that. But he's not there at the level of those guys, believe it or not. So, but I still think that the 135 division is going to be good for quite some years. And you know, we'll see who comes out of the 130 division that may move up to 135. You know, there was talk about maybe Burchell moving up to 135. And so that'll be an interesting thing. So, you know, there's still some guys at 130 move up to 135, and then we'll see how that goes. But I think that the lightweight division is going to be in good hands, in really good hands for years to come.
Yeah, I think so too. You know what, Abe? I tell you, darn it, you and I are long lost brothers. I swear. I know I liked you for a reason, and you and I are right there with Haney. Because I tell you what, I don't know if you follow, you know, how well. I know you follow me, and you know that I am not. I am not hesitant to hit send on Twitter. You know that. I send it, and a long time ago. I am sort of, although I respect his boxing and I respect his skill, he's a very skilled fighter, but I was trolling Haney hard about a year ago because of that, because he has put himself on a mantle of greatness that you could argue and that his accolades don't warrant. And then especially given the whole fiasco with how he became the champion and Teofimo trolling him and made a belt on Twitter with the saying that he had his belt emailed to him. So his colleagues, his peers, boxers, fighters, pundits, fans alike, the overall consensus that Haney needs to fight somebody of notable status within the boxing world. Okay, if he wants to be right up there. So when you start to rank these lightweights, I got him, and I've always had him at the very bottom of these rankings. That's indicative of what you just said about 30 seconds ago. For him to land a fight, you just said this, for him to land a fight with Tank or with Garcia, how? Garcia's not even a champion. So he has to land, the champion has to land the fight with the contender. That's how irrelevant he has made himself. And it's sad because he could fight. We just haven't seen those skills at full display yet with somebody of notable status within that division. So I'm with you. I hope he gets made. I hope he needs to get in the ring with somebody that's gonna elevate his crop, that's gonna elevate his status to be in the talks of the Tank Davises and the Teofimos and the Garcia, the social media champion, not even a champion within the ring. So listen, if you're listening, Haney, listen to us, man. We know what's good for you. We know what's good for you, man. You can get out there and step into a big fight. And so no, I agree with you. I think the state of the lightweight division is going to be fine. If Teofimo does move up, I think it's exciting either way if Teo stays for 2 or 3 fights, or if he moves up. Because I mean, I would have freestyle off our agenda just a little bit, because even yesterday, I saw something Josh Taylor said. Oh man, I hope he comes up. I'm waiting for him. So that'd be a good exciting fight too. But we'll save it for our next episode, man.
Yeah, and I'll just say one last thing about Haney. Haney is a really good fighter. I'm not taking that away from him. I just want to put that out there. He's a really, really good fighter. We just want to see him fight somebody credible soon. That's it.
Yes. All 100% on record. The Bronx Bomber. Even though I told him he is a good fighter, he just he just needs, I'm gonna leave it. Look, bottom line, Haney, you just need to fight somebody that's gonna elevate you, because we all know you can fight. We just need that one match that's gonna put you in those talks. So we'll see. Heck, God, we're freestyling here. Heck, even the great Wilfredo Benitez is left off the 4 Kings list. It should be, in my opinion, the 5 Kings list. For some reason, it's left off that list. Okay? So, if you want to join the ranks of the Kings of your division, somebody, come on, guy. Let's do it. All right. Jared Big Baby Anderson. What do you think? What is his legitimacy in the heavyweight division? Is he a threat in that division? Is he a future superstar in that division? Talk to me about Jared Big Baby Anderson.
I tell you, so Jared Big Baby Anderson made my class of 21 list that I put out before the end of the year, and I think that he has all the skills to have that impact on the heavyweight division. I just need to see a little more, but he is on that list because I want to see a little more. He has, the charisma. He can fight. He's not a big dude that's just, a big heavyweight. Like, the guy has the skills. And so I want to see him just as active as he was trying to be last year. And so I think this year, we'll see a little more. Maybe him fighting against some veteran guys. If USS Cunningham is still fighting, or maybe like a Louis Ortiz later on, or I'm trying to think of some of the older heavyweights that are out there, just to kind of get a little bit of experience. I think that would be beneficial to him. Maybe towards the end of the year, like, get like a Louis Ortiz at the end of the year or something, and see really where he's at. But I think that it's he has the talent to be somebody. He's not a Daniel Dubois, who I was never sold on. I wasn't part of the hype train with that, but maybe he could fight a Daniel Dubois as well, and just kind of see where he's at. And so that's if Dubois is even fighting anymore. Who knows? But I think that Big Baby, this version of the Big Baby, not the other one, will have a solid career. And who knows? Maybe they do the other Big Baby and do the battle of the Big Babies.
Let me tell you something about this Big Baby moniker. I had to look it up. I'm like, what fighter in their right mind would name himself Big Baby? And at that, we had 2 with the same years within it, so I had to look it up. And anyway, that's neither here nor there. There is a definition for why they named himself Big Baby. Look it up, Google it, and you'd be just as surprised as I was why they named themselves Big Baby. But no, listen, refreshing. This is the segment of refreshing. Garcia is refreshing because calling out fighters. And it is refreshing to have an American heavyweight whose first sport wasn't football or wasn't basketball. It is actually boxing. And Jared Big Baby Anderson is a boxer. He has the pedigree. He has the amateur experience. That's why it's transcended so well. His first, I think it's 6 fights, or I think it's 5 fights in. And it's transcended so well. You could see the training. You could see the pedigree. You could see the polishness of having amateur experience. So for me, because I'm a big heavyweight, I love the heavyweight division when it's done right. When fighters are true fighters in the heavyweight division, when they have that amateur background, when they have the skills, when all that. You heard me say this before, Abe. The reason why the heavyweight division is the glamour division of boxing is because you take the skill, the beauty, the science, the speed, and the grace, and you combine that with the power of a 220-plus pound guy. it makes for a beautiful thing to watch. And right now, for me, Jared Big Baby Anderson, okay, you have to live up to it. I'm giving it to you. You have to live up to this. I've been waiting for you. You are the coming mecca of the heavyweight division for the Americans. You have the amateur background. You have the pedigree. You have to polish this. You're not a broken football player. You're not a failed basketball player. You are a true boxing purist. So I expect big things from you. As far as your legitimacy, like Abe, I got to see more. And then we'll decide. But as far as your background, I am excited. I am excited for the heavyweight division. And if you could be the great saving heavyweight for the Americans, put that on you, Jared Big Baby. If you see this, I'm challenging you to be that guy. Take that challenge. Go with it. Flow with it. You have the skills. I've seen your first 5 fights. You can fight. You can jab. You can move. You know. But again, let's build that pedigree, and I hope you're it. I believe you're it. Let's just hope. And that brings us to up and coming Zander Zayas. 6 fights deep, I think. Yeah, 6 fights deep. 6-0. I think he has 4 KOs in those 6 fights. I'm freestyle on top of the head. I'll get you some more fidelity on the record. But man, what an exciting kid, huh?
Yeah, so Xander's another guy that was on that class of 2021 list that I had. Very exciting 147-pounder. While it lasts, because he's probably going to be at 154 before, that's a big kid. And so he'll be at... Let
me interrupt you, Abe. When we say kid, remind people how old this 147 is. How old is he?
I don't know. You put me on the spot.
17 years old, man.
Yeah, he's 17, or he might be 18 already.
Might be 18? Okay. 18, yeah. You're right. He's just going to continue to grow, so he's not going to stick around 147 very long.
Yeah, 147. I mean, he'll probably be at 154 within the next year or two. But 147, it's good for him, and he's in a good spot, because by the time next year rolls around, where he might be at the end of his 147 campaigning, a lot of those old welterweights will be out of the game. The belts might be, already, split up, and so they might be vacant. And so I think he'll have his opportunity there. But if he doesn't, I think that 154, I don't think Jamel Charlo is going to be there for 2 years or longer. I think that maybe next year he might move up to 160, and then his brother move up to 168. So I think 154 is going to be a division that's going to be wide open as well. It's going to be real interesting. But Zander, he's got it. He's got what you want. He's got the looks. He's got the big smile. He's got the power. He's got the boxing skills. Like, he's got it all. And so what you don't want to see is them move him up too fast. And I think that's something that a lot of people are worried about, that his demand and the hype is gonna move past his him coming up. And so sometimes when that happens, they'll throw him in with somebody that he wasn't really ready for, and then that could be like the end of his career. So we just want to kind of pay attention. Peter Condon is his manager, and so Peter Condon's an experienced manager, and I'm sure that he'll get him the right fights coming up. But Zander's a beast, man, and he was down in Florida. Well, he's down in Florida now, but he's got he's sparring with Adrian Broner, Tank Davis. I think Robert Easton might be in that mix. So like, he's getting a lot of world class experience, and so that is super important this early in his career. And I think you're going to see the what he's learned from that here in the next coming fights.
Yeah. Yes. I agree with you with everything you said. I am not as concerned as about them pushing him too fast because of his demand. I think his team knows what they have. I think they're going to build him up right, and I think they're going to, make sure that he gets the right fights with the right opponents at the right time. So I'm not too concerned with that. I However, I'm going to jump on this hype train. Yes, because the first time, it's very rare that I do this. When I watch him fight for the first time and say, that kid's a superstar. And the first time I saw Zander fight, I said, yes, that kid is going to be a superstar. He's legit for his following. He is legit for boxing. He is legit for the weight class, where there's 147 or higher. Bottom line, the kid can fight. And compound that with the fact that he's only 17 years old. He signed with Top Rank when he was 16. Okay? I think he might be 18, but the fact that he's so young, and when I first saw him fight, and I don't know if my boxing goggles were on. Okay, I wasn't drinking that day. I was actually just watching the fight. My boxing goggles were on, but I saw a combination of Tito Trinidad and Miguel Cotto put together. The fact that he's long, he has that longness that Tito Trinidad has. The right hand finds his mark without flaw, and then his ability to move in and out of danger the way Miguel Cotto does. The ring generalship. He is that perfect combination of those two fighters. And my God, I am excited. I'm on the hype train. I'll get on it right now. And if the hype train happens to derail, I don't care. I like the kid. He's exciting. He's excitable. He's good for boxing. He's legit. I can't wait to see what the future holds for Zander Zayas. Mark my words right here today on episode 3. I'm excited about these two fighters, Jared Big Baby Anderson and Zander Zayas.
I'm going to add one more thing to that. All right.
Yeah.
And it has it has something to do with Zander, but more so with the other person I'm going to mention. So Tank was down there sparring Zander, right? Why do you think that was important for Tank? So it was important for Tank because of what Zander represents. Zander represents a tall fighter. Yep. Who has long arms.
Yep.
Who is fast.
Uh-oh. Where you leading with this?
Who is a little bigger.
Uh-huh.
All right. And so all of those things that I mentioned, who does that emulate?
Oh, I think it's Golden Boy's new little buddy train. Ryan Garcia. Yeah.
I'm
which
just
leads
saying.
you to believe that the fight's gonna happen because Tank is already getting ready for it.
Tank is a smart guy, man. He is, and mind you, Zander is, a young guy. So the speed is probably like, if not right there with Ryan, but, close to it. And so he wants to see and feel what that looks like. You know what I mean? And not to say that the fight is happening or is signed or whatever, but I think that with Tank, he is trying to get a feel of what that may be like to be in the ring with a guy like that. And I thought that was very important that he was down there getting that type of work.
Elementary, my dear Watson. Elementary. I'm gonna call you the Sherlock Holmes of boxing. Hey, all the clues are there, man. All the clues are there for a lead-up fight for Garcia and Tank. And you have your magnifying glass out. You got your boxing magnifying glass out, and you're out there looking for it. So, if Abe says it, it'll happen. I'm telling you. So, yeah. So listen, I am excited about Jared Big Baby Anderson and Zander Zayas. I think their legitimacy. I think their greatness will come to fruition. I believe it, and only the future can hold. But boxing's in good hands with a lot of these guys, Yeah. As far as fighters go, boxing's in good hands. There's talent in every division. Contenders and champions alike. It's just, again, the business aspect of boxing. It's always there, like the fighters. So we'll see. So what's coming up next, man? What's the schedule looking like here in a few weeks? Any new programs on HBO, Showtime, any documentaries, any books? Anything that fans should look forward to?
Yeah, so I think in the immediate future, and February is when boxing really kicks off. But in the immediate future, Wednesday night, Showbox returns for the first show in 2021, and there's a fighter named Mike Williams who I recently did an article on, and he is the main event on that card. So I would say pay attention to that card if you have time on a Wednesday night. Showbox normally delivers some real good up and coming fighters, and so I think that'll be a that'll be a good card to watch. And then Saturday, ooh, Stephen Fulton Jr. and Angelo Leo. Man, what a fight. That is a real pick'em fight. And so I think that will be that'll be a really good fight. I don't know, which side is going to have the advantage, because you have like a boxer puncher in Leo, and then you have the fast, Fulton Jr. It's gonna be a great fight. Rolando Romero comes back. We'll have to see how he returns from that controversial decision victory last time. So there's a lot to look forward to next week. I don't want to go too far down the calendar, because things are starting to move around and opponents are starting to be swapped out. But next week, Showtime seems to be the place to lock in.
Good stuff. Yeah. Stephen Fulton and Leo fight. That's going to be a good fight. Fight Fast sent that one out. You're in for a treat. Boxer puncher versus speedy guy. And sometimes Fulton likes to. He's from Philly, right?
Yeah. So Fulton Jr. is a Philadelphia fighter. I have an article coming out on him on the next couple of days on NewYorkFights.com, where I interviewed him. I interviewed Angelo Leo, who is that's coming out here soon in the next couple of days. So both men have a real interesting background story. So you definitely want to look into that. And especially Angelo Leo, he's been through some rough stuff. So I cover all that. But Angelo Leo's from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Kind of moved around a lot. Stephen Fulton Jr. is a Philadelphia fighter, whose dad was in prison for the first 10 years of his life. So there's a lot there, a lot in the background story. Both guys are fighting for a lot, both professionally and personally. So, it's going to be an exciting fight.
Yeah, Fulton in true Philly form. Now, all Philly fighters do. I don't know why, but most, I won't say all, but most Philly fighters, Stephen Fulton's a pure boxer, very, very fast, but sometimes he will abandon that and go toe-to-toe with their fighters, like all Philly boxers do. And anyway, I'm going to break that fight down next week. I'm going to hold off my analysis and prediction for that fight. I'm going to break it down here in the upcoming days. And so check that out. And listen, this wraps up our segment. So hear more from us. Please follow Abe at NewYorkFights.com. He writes some interesting articles. He previews fighters. He does great analysis and breakdown. Check him out. Check out for my writing and my predictions coming up here shortly. And check out more of the smoke coming up. We're gonna have, hopefully in the future, we'll get some guests on, and this is only gonna keep going up. So if you want to hear no nonsense, no bull jive, and some exciting commentary on boxing, I think Abe and I are the best of two worlds. So check us out in future fights. Abe, it's been a pleasure as always, man. See you next time.
You already know.